Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of The Passion Project. This is a weekly podcast where we bring in a different guest to talk about a particular topic that they're very passionate about. As you could tell by the intro music, the topic that this week's guests are going to be talking about it's probably going to be Harry Potter, and
Wow.
yeah.
It's actually Star Trek.
Excuse me, before you guys get to talk, let me introduce my fantastic co-host, Derek.
Hello.
I'm Guru. And our guests are Sabrina, Zhou, and Arnav
Hi.
Ghosh. Say hi, Arnav.
Hello there.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, you can come in here and talk about anything such as Harry Potter, or also wand collecting, dragons, grade harvesting, or oil paintings of Eddie Redmayne. Because why wouldn't you want any of those things?
I'd imagine there's a thriving market for oil paintings of Eddie Redmayne.
Actually, I think
He's a beautiful man.
I think currently it's populated by the oil paintings of Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh, okay.
Cumberbitches
Oh,
are really
I
in
love
these days,
him.
you know?
That's fair enough.
But forget Cumberbatch.
Dormammu.
That's a different wizard. We want a sorcerer. We're talking about
Dormammu.
Harry Potter. So tell us, Sabrina and Nav, why do you guys love Harry Potter?
It's beautiful, and I like it.
Nav?
Well, I'm not sure if I can follow that stunning display up, but I think I actually learned to read based off of Harry Potter. I had a lot of difficulty reading as a child, and then my mom got Harry Potter one day, and haven't looked back since.
That's the same for you?
So is Harry Potter the only thing you ever read?
Yes, I've literally never read a word that is not in a Harry Potter book. I could try and physically read right now. I can't do it.
Wow.
What about you, Sab? What was that also the thing that got you into reading or not?
Nah. But since I read the series for the first time in 4th grade, I have literally read those books 17 and counting times.
Have you literally read them or figuratively or
Go
metaphysically?
away. And they're really good. And I think the thing that drew me in the most was probably like the themes of friendship and hope that J.K. Rowling kind of emphasizes.
Nice. And do you guys have like a favorite book?
Yes.
And what?
We actually talked about this during lunch today.
Okay, what was it?
Deathly
Wait.
Hollows.
Lunch or bio?
It was bio, but okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say it's hard to pick my favorite. I would say either the first one, Philosopher's Stone, or the 5th one.
Oh, we have an
Order
elitist
of the
over here. It's the
Phoenix.
Philosopher's
No,
Stone.
because
Okay.
shut up.
The British title, I believe. is
Yeah,
Philosopher's
because
Stone.
the set of books that I own are the British ones, not the American ones.
Yeah. I'd say, honestly, it's an excess of luxuries. So picking a favorite is hard either way, but I'd say Deathly Hallows it is what most people would think of when you ask them about Harry Potter. It's like, or at least for me, like what comes most to my mind.
Wait, so is it most people or is it just you?
I am not good with words. Just me. What comes most to my mind rather than. I'll stop talking like right now.
Maybe, I mean, I guess I can understand, like, from the general populace, if you look at just all the Harry Potter media that's been out, the last big thing was the Deathly Hallows movie. So I guess in that sense, most people, who are, like, into Harry Potter, or I guess, like, general population who's into Harry Potter, their last big thing was Deathly Hallows Part 2, and now they're going to get another movie this week.
Those were some damn good movies.
Fantastic Beasts, yes. What are you guys' thoughts on like the movies and like how they adapted the source material?
Ooh, I have lots of thoughts on these. I think they did a really good job compared to other, movie adaptations. Like Percy Jackson kind of sucked, and
Seconded.
Yeah. So like, I feel like Harry Potter did a really good job, but I feel like you can never get enough out of the movies as you can get from the books. I think a lot of the daily life in the books is lost in the movies, and I think the daily life part of being at Hogwarts has been my favorite thing out of all of, like, the action-y parts are great, but I think after reading them and knowing them really well, I think the daily life parts are actually really exciting. And then I also think that the casting is done really well. I think, like, there's no one I would replace in the cast with someone else. You know when you, like, watch a movie and, like, this actor would have been really great as this character, or like when I read these books, I thought of this person instead of this person when I was like picturing the scenes. Like, I don't think I've ever like had a moment where I was like, I would rather have this actor be this character.
I think personally for me, the movies as like compared to books, and this is probably true for all book to movie movies, is that there's so many things that you can do more that you can't do in the books, and there's so many things that you can't. For like the daily life is one of them. Like they just wouldn't make sense in a movie. It would probably make the movie worse, and that's fine. It probably makes sense that they didn't do like those things like going to class, etc. But and then there's some things that like, for example, in the fourth movie, in the book, he just flies around a dragon for about 5 minutes, and then he goes down and he snatches the golden egg. But in the movie, it's one of the most memorable things where the dragon just flies around Hogwarts and he chases him, and it's honestly as if that scene was built for the movie rather than the book. And those things I really appreciate. And yeah, I would agree with the casting. Like the movie had a real stroke of luck, like picking all the actors who would be all nearly perfect for their roles. Yeah.
And also the fact that all these actors stuck with their roles for, I think, what was like 10, 11 years.
Right.
Yeah. So that's also a big. The first actor who played Dumbledore unfortunately passed away. But aside from him, everyone.
Yeah.
What was his name? Richard Harris.
Richard
yes.
Harris.
And then he was replaced by Michael Gambon.
Michael Gambon.
Wait, Derek, when were you first exposed to Harry Potter?
So when I was younger, my older sister read it all the time. I remember going to Italy once, and in the airport, she was like begging my mom to buy her the newest book that came out. I think it was when the last book came out. I'm not sure, but I haven't actually read the books because I was sick once in the 3rd grade, and I read the first one. And I was like, "Wow, this is so good."
Have you seen the movies?
I've seen like 2 of them.
Okay, so you know like the gist, you know. We have a newbie here.
Kind of, but like I remember I read the first book and I really liked it, but we just didn't have the second book in the house, so I just didn't.
Well, my dad's making his way through them, and he's on Goblet of Fire right now, and he watched the movies first with me, and then he was like, at first he was like, I don't really care enough to like read the books, because like he would have good conversations with me about it, so he thought it would be enough to just have like watch the movies. But then he got bored one day and started reading the books, and so now he's on Goblet of Fire, so I'm gonna make you do that, Dark.
Okay, Guru, what about you?
I saw the movie Sorcerer's Stone on VHS actually.
Damn.
And then after that,
Back in the good old days.
yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, after that, I think it was like 2nd or 3rd grade where my mom actually got me a copy of Sorcerer's Stone, and then I read that. No, I read half of that, and then I don't know what happened, and then in like 3rd grade, I read all of Chamber of Secrets, and then I loved it. So then I went back and I just read the whole thing through. So I'm not sure what happened when I was reading the Sorcerer's Stone for the first time, but like.
Yeah, why you didn't keep going.
Yeah. Well, I probably would have. I don't know what happened.
Right.
But
I remember my first exposure to CDs was a Harry Potter movie because we were gonna watch. I think it was the 3rd movie, and I was like, guys, like, what are you doing? We're sitting like we should be rewinding the tape right now, and they're like, it's a CD, you don't have to rewind it, and that like blew my mind.
Yeah. Though I think it's so like the fact that we've all went into Harry Potter at such different points in our lives and through all these different forms of media, and I think it goes to show how like you can get into Harry Potter at any point in life.
Right.
Even like I don't even know when the first book was written, but it's been so long, and you can still love it. I think that speaks to what's such a phenomenon that it is. And I'm just wondering, in your guys' opinion, like how do you think Harry Potter has affected, let's say, like young readers, or continues to affect like young readers and like maybe people's just sort of like.
Hold on, I got this. Okay. Like personally for me, like I already said, like how like I had difficulty reading up until I started reading Harry Potter, and then I think like the books and the movies sort of blended together for me because I watched them not quite alternating, but as they came out, and I think the books more so than the movies have been just a sort of not even just a set of good books, just a sort of like a cultural force. It's a sort of, it's like really pervasive, and you can see the effects of like Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling's work like throughout like media and like through like young people's lives. And like, for example, like a lot of people in the 25 to like 15-year-old range right now, Harry Potter was that sort of that backdrop that backdrop of what it meant to relax or have a good time or what their favorite thing was. It was that thing that would just occupied such a big part of people's lives for so long. I think it's like almost like an institution now. It's like a bedrock of like American culture and British.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's kind of like a common thing that people know of. Like even if you haven't read the books or seen the movies, I think you know what it is and you know what it's about, and you know like it's not just wizards waving wands around, you know. And I think it's created such a culture, like the same way Star Wars created a culture, and I think for younger, or like for us when we were younger, or for younger people like my little sister, who have read them. Who have read the books, they learn things from the books, and it's not just about magic, you know, it's about being a leader, and it's about friendship, and it's about responsibility. And I think that's not something you can get from any normal book or series or movie.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, the first time I read the book, I picked it up because it had a boy flying on a broomstick on the cover, and that was enough for me. And then having reread it several times since then, I more value the story of a young boy growing into a young man, and if not the plot of the things. Obviously, it's very well written, and J.K. Rowling is extremely talented and so on, but just sort of the feeling of sitting down and reading and turning the pages is one of those things that I don't think you can really get anywhere else, and Harry Potter just sort of purifies that feeling for me.
Right, and after like knowing the book so well, I think it feels like home to like actually sit down and read a section or watch a part of the movies. And I also think that that the books have been and are marketed as like a children's book, right? Like you would read it in your middle school years, maybe younger than that, like in that chunk of time. But in reality, I think the themes and the personalities that you see are not just for kids. I think there's a depth to it that you can find interesting even when you are an adult. Like my dad, who's literally been to grad school and like is older, like he finds it interesting not because there's magic and flying. It's because, you know, you see people in the books that you would see in real life.
And I definitely think that people of all ages can enjoy it, because I remember my sister used to have a college professor. Her English professor who hated on Harry Potter, and he was like, it's so dumb, it's overrated, all this stuff. And then he actually started to read it, and he was like, oh, it's so amazing. I can't believe that all these years I missed out on it, because I just thought, oh, it's another fad or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think like it's awesome that we got exposed to it at a young age, but even if you've never picked up a book and you're like, oh, I'm old now, I won't enjoy it, I think it's worth it.
I just find it also like a lot more accessible, because I mean, if you take like in terms of literature, the sort of tokens of like fantasy novels are like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. But I could never get into Lord of the Rings. Maybe it's just because of like the way Tolkien like wrote his books or something like that. But it just never was as accessible to Harry Potter, which is like, in terms of the way it's written, it's like fantastical. It's also very straightforward, and it's like it has a lot of depth to it, but it's also fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even if you aren't looking for those extra meanings, you can still enjoy those novels a lot.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, that's just my personal opinion. But do you think that's also another reason why Harry Potter has succeeded so well in like the past few years? Is that it's just so much like more accessible than like other fantasy novels?
Yeah, I'd say, like, personally, as coming from a person who's read both, Tolkien's work is there's some places where definitely, like, the contrast between Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, aside from the superficial, like, the worlds they build, is that Tolkien, he focuses a lot on what he's doing and where it's happening. Like, the Tolkien universe is really, really, really rich, and there's an insane amount of detail. And I could probably list you, like, this, like, and they're the same things. They're like great feats and of magic, etc., etc. But I think where the reason that Harry Potter is more sort of culturally relevant and less niche is that it's the characters in Harry Potter are much realer. They're like
Much realer.
as in they're more
More vivid and
well-rounded characters. They're
relatable.
more vivid characters, and everyone could probably imagine a Harry Potter, but like no one could legitimately imagine a Gandalf, as in the Gandalf's universe is much richer, and the texts are much deeper, and there's maybe in a sense more well written. It's better written, as in like there's.
Yeah.
But Harry Potter is just, it's so much easier to get into because of the great stories and the great characters.
Yeah, because it's all often said that Tolkien's, like, his writing style is a lot harder to read, and it's much more, like, Lord of the Rings is better written. Like, it's more artfully crafted and, you know, literary devices and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to, like, how bored I get when I try to read Lord of the Rings, like, I think it's easier, like what you said, like, accessible. Like, you're not going to sit down and flip through some pages of Lord of the Rings because it's harder to get into it if you're just, like, doing it in a shorter amount of time.
For example, I can't name a sentence from Lord of the Rings off the top of my head, but I can say the very first sentence of the first Harry Potter book is, Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say they were very normal. Thank you very much.
Yeah, like, I've tried to read the first Lord of the Rings book a lot. And I've tried to sit down and, like, actually read parts of it. And it's so hard because you have to be really committed to it to want to read it. For someone who doesn't read complicated writing, I don't have a great vocabulary. Like, it's harder to get into it. And I'm sure the themes are great and whatever. And I've seen the movies. But I think Harry Potter, for, like, younger kids and for people like me who don't, like, love literature, I think it's easier to absorb.
I think also Lord of the Rings, it's not even that the writing is more complicated than Harry Potter. It's just that it's more dense. It's denser. I think
Yeah,
the difference is that Harry Potter, if you go back, you can keep coming back, and there are these new things that you missed and new ideas and concepts that you missed and things that you just weren't old enough to understand. But in Lord of the Rings or other textbooks and other books, like
Textbooks.
staples of literature, like Percy Jackson, for example, is almost Percy Jackson. I enjoyed it myself a lot, and I think it's sort of a testament to what Harry Potter has done, because Harry Potter changed the game forever, and it with the trio of kids going through some magical background with a school, etc., and I view it as a sort of mechanized, more standardized, and a little less personable and relatable, and of a slightly lower quality, of a sort of the offspring of Harry Potter, if I could put it that way.
A Greek spin-off, sort of.
Yeah, it's
Right.
like in the same vein, but never quite reaching the original heights.
The Greek, Roman, and also Egyptian
Egyptian.
spin-offs.
Yes,
All
see
of
that
them.
that is something that bothered me a lot. And then you have
And then Percy Jackson itself inspired like so
because
many
Percy
books
Jackson
from
was
it.
Percy Jackson. The original the 5 books were
Great.
really good. I
Right.
really like those, and obviously they are sort of descended in a way from Harry Potter. But then the dude just kept going. Like
Yeah.
He can. Oh my God, he can write books so fast.
no, but if you look,
It's
I
so
They
read
came out like once a
once a year.
once a
yeah.
year, maybe sometimes.
And but if you
every-
look back and you look through those books, there's something about this I found kind of sad. Like upon rereading them, is that they're kind of really formulaic in a
Right.
way that Harry Potter wasn't. The formula for Harry Potter is it's a new year at Hogwarts, something's gonna happen, but that was pretty much it.
I feel like in every book you're gonna get that. You're gonna get, you know, the normal story curve. But I think in Harry Potter, not only was there the normal story curve, but throughout the 7 books there was like underlying themes and like random crap that you would find like in the 6th book that was mentioned in the 1st book.
And like it was actually connected. It wasn't
Right.
like here's one arc.
Wait,
it's
what are
done.
you thinking of
Exactly.
right now?
I don't know, just like when you think about the ring on his finger from whenever on Dumbledore and like how that flows into Horcruxes.
That's
and
the
you-
7th book.
Right, no, and you hear about things from like the 1st book, right?
Oh yeah.
And
so
you,
what
we
about
should've
like
mentioned
everything
spoilers
links
before.
together.
Come on, everyone's done it. Everyone maybe you're the exception, Derek. No, but I mean, also like in the first book, Snape talks about like that was like some stone that like, if you swallow it, it like
Right.
heals your poison.
Exactly.
And then the sixth book like used to cure Ron.
Yeah, I
Right.
think what that shows is really like what
Wait, what was that stone called?
it's a Bezoar.
Yeah.
It's from the
Bezoar.
stomach of a goat.
Yeah.
That's
See,
what I
like
was
that
thinking.
sort of thing. The thing
Right.
that I would know that, and I'm not even alone in knowing that. There's
And
definitely-
Harry remembers that
Yeah.
from book one, and you're like, oh shit, like he remembers that from book one, and he used that knowledge. And I feel like there's little things like that everywhere.
My favorite instance of that is actually, I think, one of the most meaningful ones, and it's really poignant for me, is that in the first book, when Dumbledore encounters Harry staring at the mirror, Harry asks him what he sees, and then Dumbledore says, I see myself with a pair of socks. And
Right.
then all the way near the end of the last book, after Harry's learned a lot more about Dumbledore, and there's just one sentence, and he says,
Right.
Harry realized that all those years ago, Dumbledore might not have been quite truthful. And I think what that sentence for me shows like the incredible journey he takes, and sort of the incredible journey that the reader takes with all these characters, and it just means so much with so little. And I think the fact that it can mean that much shows just how sort of all-encompassing the story really is.
And I feel like I don't even know what we're talking about at this point, but after you talk about like the journey, I feel like with each and every character, you know, and like I don't know, like heroic stories and stuff like that, you always have the good guy and the bad guy and the sidekick and the whatever, you know what I mean? And I think in Harry Potter you vaguely have that, you know, the mentor, Dumbledore and all that stuff, but every character has like multiple different
Layers.
layers like an onion.
Everyone should read The Onion.
I feel like there are characters that the characters in Harry Potter are so much more real because we all have those layers, and we all like none of us are just the hero or just the villain.
I think also something that really speaks to me about is in the fifth book. Harry, looking back on it, it's like a lot of it's not even angsty in the extreme. It's just that it's that sort of very conflicted phase that you would associate with some sort of middle school kid who's going through drama. But that sort of, when you see characters that you've rooted for do things that you don't approve of, and you see characters that are set up as caricatures of bad people, if you empathize with them more than you thought you could, I think it just, the story itself like tests and like sort of shapes you as a person as you read it.
Right, and I also think that after reading Harry Potter, it's easier to understand the motives behind something that someone does, something bad that someone will do. You know what I mean? And I think there are a lot of instances with Dumbledore and with Snape, and I think like you understand the human psyche more, like after learning about these characters that like mean a lot to the reader. Yeah.
And speaking of, we've talked so much about these various characters, and for you guys, like, who would you say like are your favorite characters?
Oh shit.
All right, you go first.
No,
Okay, I can tell you who my favorite
Oh
characters.
wow, really? You have it? Like
I have
just
it.
like
This is-
wow. Okay, go.
Okay, I think
Wait. Is this like favorite character like you would like to be their friend the most, or favorite character like you're the most interesting and most in-depth character that
Just
like I
favorite.
like the way she has like J.K. Rowling has like written.
Sabrina, just tell us both of them.
Okay.
all right,
Okay,
I'll go
Arnav.
first. Honestly, I think since I'd say my favorite characters are probably in order
What the
Harry, Fred, and then Fred Weasley,
Yeah, I know, Fred, but still.
and then Sirius Black.
Wait, just Fred, not even just.
Fred and George, but Fred more so than George for obvious
Because-
reasons.
But you can't. Okay.
Okay.
And serious. Okay.
And I think
I need an explanation on Harry.
It's funny because I think it shows how many people love the books, like, because no one picks Harry. But if you look back, he's such a fundamentally good person, and he goes through a lot in a very short amount of time. And he doesn't handle it perfectly, but he tries his best. And I think in the movies, he didn't have as much to work with, and I understand that the same thing about going to classes and so on. It couldn't capture as much of his personality as I would have liked. But the Harry that I grew up with in the books is a not just a role model. He was sort of there for people in a way that I think was like exemplary, and he was acted in ways like, because obviously of his backstory, he doesn't know who he is.
He messes up a couple times, but like they're understandable and endearing.
Yeah, and he tries his best, and given what he's up against, I find like people don't give him enough credit. And then Fred, because the more you read the books, just the funnier he is.
The more you love them.
And then Sirius Black, because I empathize with the character personally, rather than, because I don't empathize with Harry personally, but I empathize with Sirius personally because, like, he likes, like, he finds it fun to just go out there and do what he wants, and he like dislikes being like sort of confined and kept in place, and he does care for people, but he makes rash decisions and so on, and that's probably why he's been one of my favorite characters.
He's been one of my favorite.
Bean.
There are two E's in the word.
We're just going to take a second to let everyone know. Arnav tries to pronounce the word bin, B-E-E-N, as bean.
No, I know a lot of people
It's
do that.
been.
But
It is.
why?
We're in America. It's been.
I know, but there's a lot of people who
Benedict
do it in, like,
Cumberbatch
accents
lives
and-
in England, and he says bean.
Yeah, but
You're
we're
not
not
British.
in England.
You don't even have a British accent. Regardless.
Nevertheless.
Continue,
Okay,
Sam.
we're moving
Continue.
on. This might turn into like me rambling about like the different characteristics of the people that I list. Okay, so bear with me.
If she says Draco Malfoy, I swear to God.
I think that no. We can get to that. I think people that I would like to be friends with, Hermione Granger. The Golden Trio, so all of them. And then Remus, Tonks, McGonagall, Seamus and Dean, Neville. They're just literally all of them.
I think it's really cool that like there are a lot of side characters in Harry Potter, but everyone loves it so much that
they become main characters for you.
People know so much about them, or like so interested in people. Like they have so much interest overall that there's enough interest for like a fairly minor character like McGonagall up until
Fairly. I mean, like Dean and Seamus, like
they're pretty much.
You get to know their characters even though they're pretty minor.
It's said once every book that I think, except for the last book, that Dean is a good drawer.
Yeah, and it's also said a lot of times that Seamus blows things up. Okay, but characters that I enjoy not like thinking about, but like I think the depth of their character and the many layers of their character are very interesting, even though I would not want to be their friend. You know what I mean? Stop it. Snape and Dumbledore. McGonagall just because McGonagall. I think the way Draco Malfoy grows up is also really interesting, and Neville, of course. I think with Snape, I don't think it's fair to try to categorize the people in this book as like good and bad, because I feel like, Voldemort's definitely bad, Umbridge is definitely bad, but I don't think, although I don't like Snape and I don't think I would want to know Snape, I think that he can't be categorized as a bad person. I think the things that he does, some of them are bad and some of them are good, and I think he was kind of stupid in the way that he kind of gave everything up for this one girl who he loved and then was an asshole to. You know what I mean? And like just the way he carried his life out was not smart, in my opinion. But I think he had a lot of perseverance, and I think he had a lot of strength in what he did, and I think he cared a lot. And whether or not that was a smart decision, I mean, that's up to debate. You know, like being a spy and doing all this stuff for this one person and then being a huge bully. I think the bullying part is the thing that I don't like the most. You know, it's always argued that, oh, like, you know, Harry looks exactly like James and James was a bully to him, so, you know, it's okay. But it's not okay.
He's literally the bigger man.
It's not okay. I mean, yeah, but it's also not okay because, fine, like, if you want to argue that Harry looks like James and that's why he was bullying Harry, fine. But when it comes to Neville, who has lost both his parents, you know, I mean, they're not dead, but they're basically dead. You know what I mean? And it's like that's cruel.
Okay, so about the Neville thing, something that I realized fairly recently is that I think a plausible reason why Snape despised Neville so much was that, if you know Neville's backstory, that he could have been the chosen one, and then
right, and then Lily wouldn't have
lived. So Neville is the sort of like personification
right.
of a life that Snape never got
right.
to live.
But I also think that, like...
Yeah. But it's still pretty much inexcusable.
Like you have a reason, okay, you have a reason, but that doesn't mean you should have done it. You know what I mean? It doesn't excuse your actions.
I think it also just goes to show that all the characters in Harry Potter, Snape more so than most, are just very and characters. They're
human.
Very vivid and human
right.
characters. And you can picture them and you can picture interacting with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just in a way that's like really it just grows better with time. Because the older you are, the more like experiences from your life.
And understanding. I feel like
yeah.
I hated him. I went through a phase of like, oh no, Snape was fine. Like he suffered a lot and it's okay. I love him. And at this point it's just like, no, like none of the things you did were excusable. They may have been brave. You may have been a brave hero, but you weren't a good person.
He was
right?
Great, but not good.
Exactly. I don't know. Moving on to like Dumbledore. I think Dumbledore has depth of character. I think he, you know, again with the whole good and bad thing, I don't think you can put Dumbledore into a character. Into a what is it? Box category. I think he's done a lot of interesting things. You know, the one line when Snape's like, "Yeah, you've raised him up like a pig for slaughter," which is exactly what he did. And didn't tell Harry. Like, a lot of the things that Harry had to find out in the end, Dumbledore never told him. He, like, left him clues and had him run around. Like, that one time Ron got mad at Harry, like, you don't even know what you're doing. Like, you're following this dead guy's words, and, like, he barely left you any clues. You know what I mean? And, like, they had to figure it out all from basically scratch. And I think that wasn't very nice of him. I feel like it definitely would have been hard anyways to explain it, but I also think that, like, you know, not telling Harry a lot of things, being kind of selfish sometimes, but he was also extremely smart, and he was also, you know, extremely kind a lot of the time, and he was kind of like a symbol of hope for people.
Although something that I'd like to say is that when you reread or read for the first time the books and you see scenes that you didn't know were happening, were coming, or so on, like you expect in every book pretty much a scene like they're going to class and something happened, all right?
Right.
But one scene where because Dumbledore, I've discussed with this guru a lot of times, like part of the fascination about the character is that he's really mysterious, and you get these little like hints and glimpses at his past life, like his battles with Grindelwald, etc. But one thing that when it went fully into a scene in book 7 was it showed him interacting with Snape in their relationship, and it was explaining that, and it showed Dumbledore as scary and cruel, and he was absolutely unforgiving to Snape in a way that you'd never see him interact with Harry. Like he's like been imploring of Harry, but he's always had patience for him. And then in this one scene, you see a whole nother side and depth to the character, and it's in a way frightening, and in another way just awesome in the archaic sense of the word, as in like you didn't know that it was possible. Right. And then in that also, you also see this other side of Snape where he's weak and somewhat pathetic and just
I feel like Snape
broken.
has always been pathetic. You just, like those really mean people that you know, they've always been pathetic. They just, they don't act pathetic, but you know that they are. Does that make any sense? Am I
yeah,
just
but Snape
rambling?
usually, like, for the majority of the books, he has a dry one-liner and he has some cruel insult for Harry. But here, he's
also just such a
broken
bully
and alone, and
yeah. And I think there's also a difference between like, hey, you did a lot of things wrong, and I still empathize with you because you have suffered a lot and you're alone, as you said, and very pathetic. But there's also like how do you reconcile those two things? Like, you are a shit person, but you've suffered a lot.
Oh, kudos to Alan Rickman for the amazing performance.
Right, he was also insanely.
I think Sabrina, what you're trying to say is, like, things that have happened to you in the past can explain what you've done, but they don't excuse them.
Yeah,
it doesn't make it okay.
Right.
Something that I've come to grips with more in recent terms rather than late is that there are things that people do that can be horrible and terrible. They can be awful things, and they can be perfectly understandable and still not justified.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
For example, like, it can be I can 100% understand how Draco, right? Mm-hmm. I can 100% understand a lot of his actions. If you learn more about how his parents don't really love him and he's very bitter and jealous of Harry, I can understand all of those things. But he's still not justified.
He's still a bully.
Yeah.
Right. Are we moving into this topic, or are we going to avoid it?
If you would like to, we still have some time.
Oh, God.
We have
plenty
of time.
Or we could circulate fan theories.
Basically,
about the
I think
books and movies.
Yeah, so for people who are not listening, Sab and Nav always they tend to have arguments about the characterization of Draco Malfoy.
This is the one argument. We usually agree on everything.
We have one
and
point
then
of
this is
contention.
the one, yeah. It's the one thing. I think, okay, I think that for me, not that Nav isn't compassionate.
I'm a literally soulless, terrible demon monster.
Literally or figuratively?
Figuratively.
You know what I mean? Like, not that you're not passionate or things, but I think that, like, trying to see it from Draco's side, I think that throughout the books, he stays... He... He stomach himself.
We'll have a brief interlude here as Sabrina recomposes herself.
In the meantime, I guess, Nav,
Right.
how about you make your point about Draco Malfoy?
I will make. So Sabrina is trying to say, amid fits of laughter, that I do not properly see the character of Draco Malfoy. And the thing that we disagree on is whether he is a redeemed character by the end of the story. Now,
not like are his actions, what's the word? Like,
have they been
redeemed?
Well,
no. Okay. I'm there. I like to think that throughout the books, Draco Malfoy is a bully, and he's a mean bully, and he's an asshole, and all of those things. And I agree that he was very mean to Harry and literally everyone that he came into contact with, even his friends, even Crabbe and Goyle, even Blaze, you know what I mean, and Pansy, and
is it Blaze or is it Blaze? I thought it was Blaze.
whatever it is.
It's
and
Blair.
Shut up. And his
it's actually Brian D. Taylor.
Shut up. I lost my train of... he's a mean person, and I think again with the whole it's understandable but not justified thing, it's understandable that he's a huge dick, but not justified that he is a huge dick, right? From his backstory, his parents are kind of shitty, whatever. And then, but I think my argument is, as the books go on, even if it's gradual, he becomes a better person, and he learns to be compassionate and learns all those things that he could not learn from his parents because they were being mean to him, right? And I think he grows, and that may not be very apparent in the books necessarily, but I like to think that through
optimism,
right,
is
I'm optimistic, and I think
false.
no, and I think that through the things that he's learned and through the things that he's gone through, and Harry saves his life in book 7, and all of those things that happen to him, I think he learns a little. And even though he may not, change from mean to very, very nice in like 1 year or 1 war, you know what I mean? I think he grows, and I think he learns to understand that, he's been a dick and he needs to change. And I think as an adult, I think that Draco, not like in the nice, like sunshiny way, but he becomes more compassionate and, kind. And he doesn't stay a bully his whole life. And he doesn't grow up to become his father, is what I think.
And back to reality now. I think there's that lens of looking at it, which is understandable, but there's a lot of things that happen that I just don't think are indicative of a fully redemptive arc for him.
No, I don't think
Not even that he
all the
erased some of the
crappy
stuff,
things that he did
or that he
were
becomes a better
justified. I don't think he makes up for them. I just think that, he becomes nicer and he tries to be better.
I think he becomes better than he is, but he's already a very bad person in the books. Like, despite it, like, you can empathize with him at points, and like you can feel bad that he is being forced to do things and so on, but he is still a very bad person out of choice. And you can say that it's just how he was raised, and he was raised in this sort of environment that made him become this sort of narcissistic, bullying person. But that doesn't excuse the fact that he's a narcissistic, bullying person.
Mm-hmm. No excuses, and then just change.
He's a very bad person at the start of the books. He's that typical.
He's
8th grade.
literally 11. He's a
he's
small
he's
child.
He's the epitome of that 6th grader who thinks he's a big shot.
Shit. Yeah, but how many people did you know when we were younger
They
that
weren't that
thought
bad.
They were the
Me?
crap?
I'm volunteering myself.
I mean,
Okay, we have one
honestly,
out of 4.
That's the problem.
25%
We're
of
all
the
friends
population.
now, but there's always gonna be the bullies, but they don't all turn out horrible.
But
You know
that's the
what I
thing.
mean?
Draco had a lot of chances to show that he wasn't going to turn out horrible, and he had a lot of chances to do the right thing and like be nice to his friends, be nice to.
He also had a lot of pressure from like his family and
Yeah.
stuff throughout
Right.
some of those chances.
The
so.
thing is, though, I can't excuse what he goes through from his family when you compare it to like they're definitely saying that because of his family, he should be like his lower starting point as a person, I guess, and his evolution as a person throughout his years at Hogwarts.
I feel like a lot of the arguments that are said against Draco is that if Draco turned out so bad and horrible, and if you think he can be redeemed, then you should think that Harry should have turned out bad and horrible, just because Harry definitely probably had a worse time than
This is true.
Draco did, considering he went a lot of nights without meals and was kind of bullied. And, like for 11 years, he grew up with some people who didn't love him. And I think Draco, at the very least, would have a warm bed to sleep in, or would have, know that his parents at least care about him, even if it's in a bad way, right? In the we want you to be a Death Eater kind of way.
It's not even.
But I think that a lot of the things that he does when he's older, being super mean to Hermione, I think Harry's a weird case. I think Harry, again, what you said, he's a super duper kind person and he has a lot of heart. And you can't get that kind of, you can't compare, I don't think you can compare Draco and Harry to each other. Not because, Draco should have been mean, because that's not the thinking here. The thinking is just even if you have a pessimistic kid versus a not pessimistic kid, or a naturally unkind kid next to a very, very kind kid, they're going to turn out differently. And I think that even though Draco, went through his adolescent years as a big bully, I don't think things like that carry through to when you're an adult. And I also don't think that if you are a nice child while you were younger, I don't think that carries through to adulthood. I think growing up changes things.
I would say that all the characters that we're introduced to grow up really fast for different reasons.
Right.
But I think one of the things about Draco that bothers me the most is that he goes out of his way. He goes out of his way with no provocation or instigation from his parents or his friends, who are little more than cronies. He goes out of his way to be cruel and to be hurtful. And I think during his formative years, when he's being pressured to do things that would be expected of fully grown Death Eaters or something like that, the same way that Harry is being pressured to do something far beyond his capabilities as a 17-year-old. In that same way, Draco, when he's going through that sort of forge, transitioning from childhood to adulthood, not only is he a bad person before, he's a bad person during, and in the glimpses that we see after, because he's not given much character development, in the middle and end of book 7, is that even in what we see after, he's a cold, kind of morally weak, and overall just extremely unlikable person.
Okay.
So I don't think, even from what we've seen.
So you think he stays the same?
Because when he
cold,
transitions,
unlikable, and a bully when he grows up to
when
become an adult,
when he transitions from
married
childhood
even.
to adulthood, he transitions you usually have your choices.
One of Arnav's arguments for this is when we do 19 years later and they see him on the platform.
He's cold and
there
stiff.
Is literally one sentence about
cold
him and how
and
he's
stiff.
cold and stiff and waves to them or something, or smiles curtly. Oh my God, Arnav Ghosh, he just saw his childhood enemies
nodded
on the
curtly.
on the platform.
He nodded.
He sees these enemies of his on the platform, and he's supposed to what? Walk up to them and hug them, smile, wave OMG, hi, I haven't seen you in 20 years. No, he's going to nod curtly because he hated them and they hated him.
Okay, but this is the thing though. He had so many chances because he's definitely the bad person in his relationship with the trio.
Right.
But he had so many chances, and then the trio has done so much for him that he has not done in return. And then we see him,
he's a kid.
even when he's an adult, the same way Harry is an adult when he's 17. They transition from childhood,
right? Okay, so what kind
of
adulty things do you think Draco should have done? What kind of chances do you think he was given when he started becoming more mature?
I think it's very, very unlikely, for one, that he would ever, express regret. I don't want to spoil this.
Regret
I
for
don't
what?
really care.
Okay,
I've heard a lot of things,
he
so
would
just
never,
say it.
never once in his life, I highly doubt that he would express sorrow that Fred had died. I really don't believe he'd ever do that.
But it wasn't his fault that Fred died.
Yeah, but he wouldn't even, like, as a courtesy gesture, he wouldn't even.
But you don't have any proof for that.
I don't, but I just think based off of my experiences with him in Deathly Hallows and all of the books, I find it really hard to believe that he'd ever, like, or aside from that, he'd ever go to Harry and Ron and Hermione
And be like, I'm
personally
sorry.
and say, I was a terrible person to you and I'm sorry.
I think you just have a lot of hate in your heart.
I think-
I think someone like Draco Malfoy definitely wronged you, and you just dislike people who are like
Yeah,
them.
Guru bullied
I
me
think-
viciously
no,
as a
I
kid.
think
When we
there-
went to
That is
Morocco,
not true.
I think there are so many people that we know who are rude and bullies and
Yes.
don't like people
Derek.
and don't
Jesus Christ, Derek.
and don't seem to feel anything, if y'all are catching my drift. But I think everyone has that side to them. Everyone has that side to them when they're actually kind and actually
I thought you were gonna say
open.
everybody has a side where they're like awful people who don't care, and I was like,
I
think
mean,
you're-
I guess
think
people have everyone has some dark side in them. Now
I
and
mean,
then.
Right.
that's true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think Draco's
That's a
is
whole different discussion.
especially big. But I don't think that he does not improve.
Yeah.
Because I think that he grows. And I think I mean, you can give someone a billion chances, and like, I don't know, I'm getting distracted by that TV
Okay,
over
no,
there.
so I'll just cut in. I think Draco's definitely a layered character, and he's definitely done good things without provocation, as in, like, just for the sake of being good. But I just don't believe that his redemptive behavior or that good in him ever grows to be to overwhelm those sort of negative aspects of him. And that's a nice watch you've got there, Derek. Is it okay? Yeah, nice. Okay. But I don't think that even with all the chances that he has, and he has all the time in the world to apologize, and that would show that he's becoming a good person. But based off what I've seen from him in the books,
I think
all right, we'll put a
Yeah.
Put a
Is-
cap
is,
to
is
it.
the passion project just this one discussion?
Just
This is
honestly
the thing
it could have been one section, but it's okay. But I think it does say a lot how much Harry Potter has affected you both, that you're going so much about this
this
one
fight
character.
happens like
no,
every once in a while.
It's the frequency of this fight has decreased and its intensity has increased.
That's
about
so. But you know what? We brought the intensity to our show. That's the important part. But let's move on to one of our final topics. In that the new Harry Potter, movie in the Harry Potter universe that's coming out
That everyone should go see.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. That can be our last note we talk about. So, what is your guys' excitement level for that? And
There's a sort of state that I'm in right now for being excited for it. It's where it's beyond being like, oh my God, I'm really excited for that movie. And like when you see an ad for it on YouTube or whatever, it's just sort of this plateaued. And then when I see the movie, it's just going to all well back up again because
like a really high plateau.
yes, because I think J.K. Rowling right.
Rowling.
Right? Yeah. Is it Rowling?
No, it's rolling.
Whatever.
Rolling. It's rolling. Yeah. So then,
Oh my God.
You see
like
me
she
rolling.
wrote when she wrote Fantastic Beasts, and she also wrote, the Quidditch book.
She just wrote everything. Who cares?
Yeah, but like she's written standalone books, and it's expanding from not only just like this movie series to this universe and this sort of place. And for example, when I first saw the first trailer for it, the music itself, like, is like this sort of
cry a little.
it's this like gateway to just like years of memories and emotions and like arguments like these. And in short, yeah.
And I think Fantastic Beasts is good because it's not like everything about the book series is planned. It's not accidental. None of the side characters are like they're their own people. They're not thrown in because she needs like someone to like further
Right.
the plot or whatever. And similarly, she didn't. I mean, I don't actually know, but I'm assuming this is true. She didn't. Like, she could have probably milked Harry Potter for another 10 books, another continuing
Exactly.
series, but she decided,
To cut it.
no, I'm cutting it off. And this way, people still get to experience the universe, but it doesn't, like, detract from the original books. It's not like, oh, I'm so glad Harry Potter's continuing, but like I'm sad that they didn't just like let it go.
Yeah, they didn't
know.
lost it, where they just tried to keep going.
Oh, I thought you were saying they didn't lose it. Just
I think
set it right.
I'm like, nah. Nah.
Very articulate. Then again, I'm not one to talk, so.
I'm very excited for it. I feel like I've seen the Harry Potter movies so many times that I, want another taste of something that's kind of related but not really related. Or, we live here in America, and the movie is set in America, and I think it'll be super duper interesting to see how those two cultures merge together. And I think in Fantastic Beasts, what I've heard and what I've seen, it's extremely woven together with the world around the magical world. I think in Harry Potter, the magical world is kind of like in a bubble, and you kind of see outside of it, but not really. And I think it's going to be interesting to have, magical creatures running around, flying around, swimming around. I don't know.
And to
Personal
see,
favorite is the Erumpent.
Right. No. The Nifflers and the Bowtruckles.
That's true.
You
Yeah.
just lost the whole audience before we could even
right.
end.
No, wait. but also fear, because
And then but
apparently
also.
it's supposed to be, 17 years of a series and like over 3 movies long of a series. So
5 movies.
5 movies?
They want it to be 5
Right.
movies
So
long.
5 movies, lots of years. I think it has potential to be extremely awesome. But it also has the potential to be a flop, and that's kind of scary. I don't want anything to.
Oh no, this
you know,
movie could suck, but
it
it'll
could
definitely
suck,
make a
but
lot of
it
money.
The thing that
Right,
the
exactly.
thing that makes me feel safe regarding the movie is that, for example, we all know Cursed Child came out fairly recently,
Right.
and then
And that was
bad.
crap. It sucked.
Thanks.
Okay,
Okay.
continue.
All right, moving on. I think part of that reason is that this is J.K. Rowling's work. This is her. It's her creation, and whenever she makes something, right?
It's great.
Yeah, but she took her hands off for Cursed Child, and it just wasn't the same. And
no, it wasn't even not
not
the
even
same.
not
it
even
was
not the same.
absolute
It was of a lower quality.
fucking crap.
All right, and there's our count of 1.
One
One
counted one F-bomb.
Okay,
One.
I love that I said fucking crap.
there's
Okay.
2.
And
Two.
you just took knobs as well.
Okay.
Okay, knobs is
Okay.
your final point. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No, not
I thought
had
it was
one
only
too.
one between
Wait, I
them.
thought it was just
It was no, I
one.
thought it
Yeah.
was one.
It was
One between, because that's what we decided.
Oh, that's what you said.
for
I
Nathan and
thought you
Ella's
changed
episode.
it and made
You
one.
know
Oh,
what?
it took
I wrote
knobs
it
as
down.
well.
No
Oh,
big deal.
damn.
Regardless,
Sorry, Nav.
you just
I'm
screwed
wa-
everything.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. This is why you like Draco. All right, never mind. I think she had her hands. She was hands on for Fantastic Beasts. She
yeah.
wrote, I think, the majority or all of the script, and obviously, like Fantastic Beasts, the book it's a textbook, and it's just humorous and funny,
Right.
and you just get little glimpses back into Harry's life. But this is just a whole nother ball game, and I'm
Plus,
really
Eddie
excited
Redmayne is really hot.
to see what she does. I'm
Nice.
done.
Nice. Also, Colin Farrell's in the movie. Shout out to him. He's a very underrated actor.
Oh, he's
Hey,
good.
Also, Ezra Miller.
Yeah, that too. That too. Him
I
too.
just want to see the differences in culture because, like, even like obviously throughout history, but like you would think, okay, America and Britain were really different at the beginning, but people think like they're like more similar now. But the truth is, they're still very, very different. Like Britain still has a big focus on like class and history in a sense, and like I don't know if they'll
Right.
like really change that much in the movie, but it would be interesting to see like what little things
Yeah.
are different in America.
I'm actually kind of wondering if it'll be any different in terms of just the direction, because the director of the last 4 Harry Potter movies is also directing this one. But we'll see. But yeah, on that note, we're gonna finally finish the episode. This is our longest episode yet, Derek. Oh my God.
Is it how long? No, it's
Yeah,
not. It's
no.
not even an hour.
It's 59 minutes, so we're
Yeah,
almost
I
getting
know.
there.
Well, we had one that was longer, but we cut it to below.
Well, anytime we post an episode.
Girl.
Yeah.
Guru,
But let's get to
Girl.
the yes.
did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Wait, what?
And so this has been the Passion Project. Sabrina and Nav, thank you so much for coming to talk to us about Harry Potter. It's been
Thanks,
a very,
Grum.
very fun discussion.
And Derek.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Yeah.
I
Derek,
think neither
as
of you.
always,
No, thanks,
you're a
Arnav.
fantastic co-host.
Thanks. There was just
Derek,
trying to
your
make
co-hosting abilities are utter garbage.
Hey,
Thank
don't
you,
say that.
Arnav.
I thought that was
I-
gonna be a
And
compliment.
make sure you follow
No,
the
it's not
WHS Tech Crew on Facebook
Guru, can
at
you stop
WHS
it
Tech
with the
Crew.
plugs? This has
And
been
no,
every episode.
because this is okay. This week is especially important because also please buy a DVD from us for the fall play that's coming out.
The Murder Mystery at the Murder Mystery.
Yeah, DVDs are only $10.
Arnav's in it.
Arnav's actually in it. Don't know, and I'm doing the
This
tech
is
crew
true.
obviously. And it's the play is coming out the week that this episode's airing.
It'll be
And make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, and we'll see you guys next week.
Woo!